This is Mark Gunn Media.
Hit it!
Welcome to Gunshots Straight from the Hip. I'm your host, Mark Gunn. The views expressed on this program are those of the host and guests and not necessarily reflective of anyone or any entity associated with this broadcast.
I survived gunshots, knives, attempted suicides, and death from a seizure before I was 5. See, God got me here for a reason. And even as a youth, my parents said it was apparent I'd be a preacher, but I thank God that I'm a poet. See, I stayed devoted. Spoken word for me is more than Sunday mornings, Wednesday nights, poetry slams, and open mics. I don't play poet, because this gift ain't a game God gave me. He made me design each rhyme as if each line is trying to find salvation. So it's safe to say I write the hell out of a poem. Exercising demons just by speaking. See, time ain't something I'm taking for granted. So every time you see me on stage, I engrave it with the soul of Suge Avery. Maybe God's trying to tell me something. Like how the contradiction after the benediction causes conflict. So how can I reach you from a pulpit if you think I'm full of it? That's why that young kid who feels his life ain't worth living, feels his spirit's lifted from the lyrics I give him. Ain't that deliverance? What's the significance of having a gift if nobody can receive it? See, I too touch the youth, just not like Catholic preachers. Me, I'm a poet. And I know it don't make me better than anybody else. Poets never claim to be. Never say we were better persons, just try to make you better persons through our verses. And this isn't me versus churches. I just know what my purpose is. See, I stare at blank pages, and they look right back at me, asking me what is it that I have to give. Because somewhere, some little girl has had her life jaded by a rapist her mama makes her call daddy. And had she never heard the poem with the line where I say she's somebody's sunshine, she'd have stopped trying. Another murderer-suicide victim prevented by what was written. See, I write to lighten loads on their shoulders, console them and build up pillars of respect so those columns don't bind and they pick up Virginia texts. Forget poetry. I write lifelines. Rewind time until you find points you're saved. Save your points, find you until time rewinds. Guys, this ain't poetry. These are testimonies. And every cat you hear speaking ain't nothing more than a deacon. And we didn't come here for some game or some show, and it stopped being a poem about a minute ago. This ain't a poem. These are God's teachings, reaching my thinking, leaking through my ink pen, on stage speaking in hopes that I reach them. His people. Which people? Anybody breathing. And if your love is as blind as mine, you can see what I'm seeing. So I'm going to keep on speaking till he say when. The doors of my verses are open. Let the church say, amen.
Welcome to Gunshots Straight from the Hip. My name is Mark Gunn, and the young man that you just saw is somebody that I've known for a long, long time. And as I described in the preview of the video, this is a family reunion of sorts. So a little backstory. Chris and I, Christopher To Be Told Owens, is our guest of this episode. Met way back in the day, some 20 years ago, if memory serves. And Chris was one of my proteges in radio. And you were a poet doing your thing locally here in Louisville. And on track to become a radio personality. And all of a sudden, things started taking off for you on the poetry front with an award that you were very excited about sharing. And we'll get into that in a little bit, but a little backstory. You left Louisville, relocated to Phoenix, Arizona. And ever since then, for the last 20 years, you have been working as a professional spoken word artist.
Yeah.
Man, can you believe it's been 20 years?
I know, it's crazy. Just you saying that now, I just feel old, but yeah. Like you don't age, but I'm getting old.
Oh, yeah, okay. He says with all the gray hair on my face. All right, so just to give folks a backstory, you were born in Saginaw, Michigan.
Yes, sir.
And pretty much that was a big part of who you are. How did you end up in Louisville?
Actually, my best friends. I was in Memphis, Tennessee. I moved to Michigan to take care of my grandfather who had became ill. And shortly after he passed, I had a few of my best friends who I call my brothers who were attending Kentucky State University. And so they were, thoroughbreds in the house represent. Homecoming is next week, I think. But when I was there, Ron Banks was one of the advisors, and Mr. B let me know about an opportunity. He had heard me perform, and he's like, "Son, I got something for you." Mm-hmm. And next thing I know, he said he had known about an opportunity for me to have an internship. The internship happened to be at B96.5.
There we go.
Where we met. And it went from there. And that to this day is still my, outside of poetry, has been the best job I've ever had. Like just interning. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but like 14-hour work days, not paid, and I could not be happier. It was an incredible experience having you take me under your wing to introduce me and show me the ropes and some things. It was incredible, man. And yeah, just the poetry thing just started taking off, and here we are.
Man, I'm telling you, because when you were there at B96, and just for those that don't know, I was the program director at that radio station. Mm-hmm. And, you read my bio, my background is in radio for almost 45 years now. So, yeah, you were one of our interns. We worked our asses off, and, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yes.
And in between all the fun, we tried to make sure that you actually learned a few things, and you did. Mm-hmm. And again, the poetry thing was always a part of it. And I remember, I forget what the award was, but I remember you being so excited about it because I think it may have been one of the first ones you'd ever gotten.
Yeah, and, it was Spoken Word Artist of the Year.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and they had just started the category. So for me, it was a big to-do. I had not long prior to that, I had left my full-time job at AT&T to pursue poetry full-time. So it was just a confirmation. It was something that was exciting. It's always great to win an awards, and they don't define you, but anytime you have any level of recognition, it's always huge. So to be in a field like spoken word that isn't generally considered a typical job or a career, even to this day, I still have people ask me, "Oh, you're a poet, so what's your real job?" But and
to that point, when you were coming up in it, the field was so crowded because that was I don't want to use the word fad, but that was there were spoken word artists everywhere. There were poetry slams everywhere. Yes. And just over the course of time, you don't hear so much about those anymore.
Right. And part of that is because I like telling people I don't play poet. So I was blessed to be in situations like Expressions of You, where James Linton gave me the opportunity to host and get my chops as far as a host and a performer and a writer and a poet. But a lot of people will go to the stage more for the attention than putting in, for the purpose. And for me, I've really found a way to speak, to help others, and to use poetry as a tool to help build the community and to grow and to speak out for things that need to be spoken for. Everyone isn't built like that.
Speaking of which, we're going to drop a sample of exactly what you were talking about, because truth be told, and we'll talk about how you got that name, isn't one that minces words. Check this out.
Yes, you have the right to remain silent, but it ain't right to remain silent. Especially when neighborhoods remain violent and those who try to fight it and don't stay quiet are labeled snitch. But this ain't the goddamn Sopranos. And you don't win a Tony for any song or dance you try to portray when you say snitches get stitches, because the only ones in stitches are those laughing at us as they ask, how can we be so dumb? Snitch. No matter how you spell it, silence nowadays is taking communities hostage. And this nonsense, this quasi-mafioso garbage has become the concept our kids have grown fond of. So how do I remain silent when violence invades our nights and days, preys in our minds and stays inside of our souls and decays? And nowadays, I question the source of this vibe. Bragging about holding magazines, yet too blind to read the issues. Acting all XXL while leaving the streets with that small, sad song, the one whose soundtrack is a gun clap, serenaded by sirens and distraught mothers crying, ending in the final breath of one young soul dying. Can you hear it? See, I would wish for you to read in between the lines, but niggas don't like reading. So keep on believing it's some big old coincidence that neighborhoods just like yours have more liquor stores than churches. Keep believing it ain't on purpose that 14% of the population now accounts for 52% of the prisoners in our nation. Shh. Just keep quiet. Even though closed mouths don't get fed, which leads to starvation, which leaves you dead, you would instead earn street credibility. But tell me I don't understand. Even though I'm from Saginaw, Michigan, a land where ice cream was sold more than ice cream. Keep telling me how it's so hard out here and you trying to get in where you fit in and how everybody's trying to stop your shine as you redefine your life by what Jeezy and Lil Wayne said it should be. See, a snitch by definition is one who sells another one out in order to avoid time in prison. Yet here you are giving away your communities one block at a time, one Glock at a time, one rock at a time. And don't even start trying to tell me how you can get a brick and then flip it and distribute it for double the profit, minus the re-up, and not see what that same time could do had it not been applied towards a degree in math, chemistry, or business. There is no difference. They all include thought, dedication, and deadlines, but you would instead try to shield your stupidity, telling me you gotta hold down your peeps, unaware of the irony in the statement you just made. See, you don't want me to tell you the truth because you already know it. And speaking about something like this brings life to something that a bullet can't kill. Your life ain't worth living if there's nothing to die for. That is what I write for. So maybe if you tried more to change your living, you wouldn't transfix your position into calling other people snitches. Those of us who work hard for a living, instead of living off that hard and that work. And it hurts that your worth ain't dirt as you search for places where crack is sold and cracks in souls make those supposed growth ain't an option. You need to stop, man. Because if you've been listening, we know by now who the real trick is that's snitching. But better yet, let me flip it this way to you. If niggas knew niggas weren't niggas, what would niggas do?
Once again, it's Gunshots Straight from the Hip. I'm Mark Gunn with my special guest, truth be told, Christopher Owens, who basically this is a family reunion. We haven't seen each other in years, but he is celebrating 20 years as a professional poet. And this past Friday, a retrospective of your career just dropped, and it's available on streaming. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So this Friday, I actually dropped Rewind, which is, as you said, I call it a multi-purpose project. It's definitely a look back. It starts at the days at Expressions of You and poems that I did from that time. Gives audiences also a chance to experience a live show if they've never seen me in person. And in addition to that, my last project that I released, Oxymoron Nicotine Neverland, was released in 2015. So I've had poems that I've performed and newer pieces that are on there as well. So you get a little bit of fan favorites, you get new pieces previously unreleased, and you get the experience of a live show. I look at it as a bridge project because it helps to bring everyone to where we are as of now. The 2 years off with COVID, it was a lot for everybody. A lot of changes that had happened, so especially for me. So I'm excited to get this project out, not only to share what I've gone through already, but to get to what's to come, because there is more to come.
All right, and still to go back, so we got to talk about how did you get the name Truth Be Told?
You know what? Actually, my name started, I don't know if you remember this, but when I was interning, my nickname was GQ.
Yeah, I remember that.
So as I began performing, I hosted under the name GQ. And then there was an elder who was at Expressions. I honestly don't even remember his name, but I always speak of him. And he would just start calling me Truth out of the blue. I never chose my name. He gave it to me. And, you know, one day he told me that, he said, I'll call you Truth because you have a responsibility. And when you get up there, you talk the truth, but you had to make sure you keep speaking that truth. Make sure that truth is being told. And there came Truth Be Told. So from the rest is history, as they say.
All right. So as the evolution of Truth Be Told continued, you left Louisville. What was next?
Phoenix. There was a lot of opportunity. I was at a point in my life where I had a lot going on, personal relationship struggles and issues, co-parenting issues. And unfortunately, Louisville, the city that I love so much, as you were saying earlier, as you alluded to, the poetry scene faded. So there was nothing really to, as far as maintaining. I had to, by this time, I was already traveling and performing throughout the Midwest. And I was actually seen on Twitter by a group called Urban AZ. And they decided to fly me out to open for Lauryn Hill. And that experience out there allowed me to see just so much. And there was a building and a thriving environment. It was a city that was putting money into the arts. And I really felt at home. And I didn't want to leave Louisville, but I knew that this was my purpose and what I had to move for. And everyone, I had a lot of people that called me crazy at the time, foolish even. And it was just something that needed to be done. And the progression moving forward has been incredible ever since. And I'm grateful for it.
And, and this is about, having stepped out on faith. And during your time there in Phoenix, you were able to get involved in quite a few, have your fingers in quite a few pies as it relates to not only what was happening politically, but there were also some social movements that you got involved in. And there was a campaign that you started with the Phoenix women's basketball team, the NBA team, right?
Yeah. So I've always been a big fan of women's basketball. My father was a basketball coach growing up. He coached myself and my sister. So every time I've watched basketball my entire life, it's just been basketball. It's not men's basketball or women's basketball. And so when I came to Phoenix, it was the first city I'd ever lived in that had a professional women's team. Used to go to the games all the time. And the Phoenix Mercury X Factor, which is what they call their fan base, that X Factor is truly an X Factor. They have more people attending their games than a lot of NBA games, to be honest. The fans are really passionate, and it's a high level of basketball. Like, if you've ever had the pleasure of watching a game or attending a game, it's not just going, oh, they're women, so we should support. No, they're good. They've earned this. This isn't a handout. We need to support them. I learned to use my voice for other platforms. So when I saw that this was a thing, I talked to the team and we worked out a deal where, with my company, Culture PHX, we were able to purchase out the upper level of the entire arena. And so we were able to take, the first time we did it, we were able to take 54 girls youth groups and their families to the games, as long as, in addition to another 2,700 people from the community. This time to honor Brittany Griner and to bring attention to her wrongful detention, which is now, I believe, 229 days.
Yes.
We wanted to take 42 youth groups, churches, group homes, and just still continue the same thing, continue to support the team, continue to get the word out, continue to let the team know that we were supporting them, because in spite of not having Brittany Griner, who's one of the best players of all time in the WNBA, they were riddled with injuries this season and still made the playoffs. So it was I wanted to have an event as a celebration of the team, in addition to making sure that people are aware of what's going on. And I knew the spectacle of buying out half an arena will grab attention. And the focus was to use that attention and put it where it needed to be, on Brittany Griner.
And speaking of women's issues, one of the things that you also was able to do, and I was very proud of this campaign, Procter & Gamble and Dove launched a campaign a few years ago as a means of putting the spotlight on women, body image, and beauty issues. And you actually were recruited to do a poem for that campaign. How did that come about?
It's still kind of wild to think about it. I was just recording and, performing particular poems at the time. And someone from Dove caught wind of what I did, and they were like, this is perfect for our program. We want to use this. And I was like, sure, why not? We need to get the word out. And I was blessed because I was able to learn a lot from them. At the time that we did the campaign, which was 2015, 1 in 20 women would use the word beautiful to describe themselves. The other 19 would use anything else, but the word, just calling themselves, saying I am beautiful, was something that was rare. So I wanted to not only use a poem that highlighted women's beauty inside and out, but also have women on the poem saying I am beautiful in multiple languages, showing how proud they are of themselves, and just make it a normal thing, just to just to embrace your dopeness. So it was really a great experience. I look forward to doing something like that again, but it was an honor. It truly was.
She confused me. Had me looking like you would look if St. Peter said your name wasn't on the list after you perished. I kept staring. She said nobody ever called me that before. And it's confusing to me explaining to a tree that she's a tree until I understood that all seeds need water and see fathers need to tell this to their daughters more often. All I said was, baby, you're beautiful. Ladies, you don't do usual. You do amazing. No need changing God's aim, baby. You're a bullseye. And that bull guys tell you needs to be ignored. You are far more than magazine portrayals and hip-hop fallacies. You've never been a 5-star chick. Baby girl, you're a galaxy. And asking me what your worth is worthless. So you're that Proverbs 31 type chick. Read the fine print. It says your purpose is on purpose, but too often a disservice you've been served. Self-esteem assassinated, placed in coffins as we dance alongside it in a New Orleans style rhythm. See, I like you.
I am beautiful.
Early morning natural. Go ahead and rock your bonnet and pajama bottoms, baby. Makeup don't make you. Contrary to what Maybelline may believe, Victoria's biggest secret was making you think you needed her in the first place. Magazines don't get the picture. So stop looking at theirs to find your description. Because what this whole world may consider usual, in my eyes, will always be considered beautiful.
I am beautiful.
I am beautiful.
You and me are beautiful. Thank you.
I'm beautiful.
I am beautiful. I am beautiful.
I am beautiful.
I am beautiful.
I am beautiful.
It's Gunshots Straight from the Hip. My special guest is Chris Tooth-Free-Told Owens, who is celebrating his 20th year as a professional spoken word artist, relocating to Phoenix, Arizona, where you have been making a huge, huge difference ever since. So I did talk about the fact that not only were you dealing with women's issues, you were dealing with political issues. And one of the last pieces that I saw you do was addressing Senator Kristen Sinema, who, if you pay attention to politics, she is a Democrat, but along with Joe Manchin, may as well be Republicans. Basically, they, for whatever, well, she's got a lot of people in her pocket, so let's put it that way. I'm not even gonna lie about that. She's been bought and paid for.
That's exactly.
You did a piece that addressed her specifically, and I remember you telling me about it, that you were getting it ready. How were you approached to do that?
I was reached out there. Someone from the NAACP. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Forgive me. Alejandro Chavez, Cesar Chavez's grandson, reached out. Wow.
Okay.
And let me know what was going on. There was a voting rights event that was going on. I'm actually hosting an event later on today as well. But it was making sure that we address to the community the importance of voting. And I've always been the kid. I watch politics like people watch ESPN. It's important to me to know what's going on and who representatives are. And as you were saying, poetry has allowed me to navigate through different arenas, which I'm blessed for, because I've been able to bring the same message that I had at the open mics at Expressions to Congress, to state Congress. And it's been an amazing thing. And it was just one of those things where we needed to make sure people knew what time it is, for lack of a better term. I like being an artist because times like this through our society is our responsibility to make sure that we grab America's attention. And so with Lift Every Voice, the poem that you're talking about, which is actually the first single off of my next EP, which will be, the single will be out next week.
Okay.
And just because of the time that we're in, I can't wait for marketing purposes. It's important to have a message. And just like with that poem, it was important to get the message out, get the word out, let people know what's going on, and let these state representatives know that we are paying attention to them.
What do you call a democracy that doesn't protect its citizens' right to vote? You call it what it is. You call it broken. Last summer, Derek Chauvin had his knee on George Floyd's neck. Breonna Taylor was murdered where she slept. We voted. And the response was an insurrection attempt on Capitol steps and 400 laws written to restrict votes where we rest. Y'all got to see how this all connects. Worse yet, the GOP's lawyer told the Supreme Court to its face that protecting voting rights, that democracy, hurts Republicans. Let's call this what it is, y'all. Democracy hurts white supremacy. And we can no longer afford to ignore the elephant in the room or expect help from elephants who view black and brown voices as insects to be stomped out. This is a warning. What do you call a democracy that's not a democracy for all? It is apartheid South Africa reinvented, intended on keeping political power in the whites-only section. Question: when has historical progress from minorities ever come under bipartisanship? Answer: nowhere near as many times as the filibuster has been used to prevent it. Meanwhile, Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin stand like cops in Minnesota, hands in pocket while the racist filibuster squeezes our democracy, barely breathing, barely speaking. Meanwhile, our so-called representative is more focused on social media posts than her co-workers trying to kill her constituents' votes, which either makes her aloof, insincere, naive, stupid, or complicit. Now, which is it? This isn't the time for political theater, Ms. Sinema. We've seen this movie play out throughout Reconstruction, come in the form of a so-called Southern Compromise, disguised as states' rights, disguised as protected racism, which birthed the nation, which birthed the Klan. Ma'am, we've lived through this nightmare and still do. As a black man in America, I've grown accustomed to be shown how white lies, laws, and violence threaten black and brown lives. I know trouble when I see it. Maybe that's why they don't want us to go to schools to teach it. Maybe that's why they don't want us speaking or raising our voices at polls, because elections are supposed to have consequences, but racists don't believe in accountability from those they don't view as equal. This is a warning. It's time that we make amends with the fact that our amendments never mended America's racism, or that this nation is far from fulfilling its promise for everyone. Martin told America nearly 60 years ago that she was then a century overdue in doing right by its people of color. Those same manacles and chains remain today through legislation. 6 decades later, we are on the democracy's edge. And instead of removing racist rules used to try to subdue us, now, not in 2017, not in 2018, now we hear talks of bipartisanship from those more focused on power than the people. Voting is power for the people. But many people want black and brown voices reduced to the size of a peephole. I didn't think America negotiated with terrorists. Foreign, domestic, or elected. Y'all, they tried to steal a damn election. Now they want cooperation and attention and acceptance. We say hell no. The only effective method is if voting rights are protected. This should be the last summer any eligible American has a harder time trying to vote than own a gun. The last summer we have representatives that don't represent the people. The last summer I have to worry about my unborn grandchildren fighting the same fights my deceased great-grandparents had to fight. Why do we have fewer voting rights in 2021 than we do in 1965? If you can't read in between the lines, just listen to what our ancestors have been saying since the day you stole us. You owe us. Don't forget who was the first to die for this country. You owe us. Pop quiz. What's minimum wage for a slave times 24 hours a day times 365.25 times 244 years? Answer, you owe us. Remind me whose original land I'm standing on while I'm performing this poem. America, you owe us. Because a nation should never write a constitution its people can't cash. I ask you again, what do you call a democracy that doesn't protect its citizens' right to vote? You call it what it is. You call it broken. And then you fix it. So get to work.
Did you get any sort of reaction from her handlers or anybody representing Kristen Sinema's office?
Man, please. Kirsten Sinema. Come on now. This is Kirsten Sinema we were talking about. Like, if I were a pharma agency that wanted to pay her money, or a Republican group that wanted her to come out and just, pay her money to keep her quiet, that's one thing. She has never met with any constituents since she's been elected. So wow. I was never expecting to hear anything from her because she's a coward. So I expect her to be who she is.
You have a special technique that you've employed ever since you started that kind of alludes to the title of the anthology. I'll tell you what, we're going to pay some bills, and I want to get into that because this is something that audiences love, and it's very engaging. We've got more with Truth Be Told right after this.
If you're an advertiser, one of the most important things about getting your message out is actually standing out from the rest of the crowd. If you're listening to this program right now, this is where you'd hear your commercial. As an exclusive sponsor of GunnShots Straight from the Hip, your commercial is professionally produced and gets a longer shelf life based on your needs. GunnShots Straight from the Hip is a unique and compelling program unlike anything else in the marketplace. Episodes are available for download on iTunes, TuneIn, and MarkGunnMedia.com. And depending on how you tailor your message, the potential for new and repeat customers is that much greater. Best of all, it's extremely cost-effective. If you'd like more information on how you can be a sponsor of this broadcast, call Mark Gunn Media, Inc. at 502-407-0283. That's 502-407-0283. Or log on to markgunmedia.com. For downloads of this and past episodes and information about all the multimedia services we offer, log on to our website at www.markgunmedia.com. That's markgunmedia.com. Welcome back to Gunshots Straight from the Hip. My name is Mark Gunn. My guest, my little brother, Christopher Truth Be Told Owens, who is celebrating his 20th year as a professional spoken word artist, has a new project that just dropped this past Friday called Rewind. We're going to get into this. Is a technique that you've employed. You know what? Wait, rather than me talking about it, I want to let you see exactly what we're talking about here. Check this out.
I also do this thing when I perform where I allow the audience to yell rewind while I perform. So if I happen to say a line that just hits you a particular way, you can yell rewind. I will say the line again on demand. You will not mess me up. This is my job. Okay? In America's mind, I'm still nothing more than the third pick in their slavery draft with ideals of bending our backs, transforming cotton into cash, and receiving lashes for speaking back. Boy, know your place. In America's mind, I'm nothing more than the third pick in a slavery draft with ideals of bending our backs, transforming cotton into cash, and receiving lashes for speaking back. Boy, know your place.
Okay, so with this technique, and you saw just how engaged people are in doing it. The first time I saw you do it, I died laughing because I'm like, okay, this is so effective. This is so dope, and people are so into it. How did that come to be?
That is a technique that it's kind of like Michael Jackson in the moonwalk. MJ didn't do it, but he's known for it. Right. And when I started performing, particularly outside of the state, my home state of Michigan, a lot of the artists, it was just the thing to do. It was a way to not only make sure that you knew your poems inside and out. It was like a next level method of memorizing, because you're not just memorizing the poem, you're actually talking to an audience, you're engaging. For example, if we're talking right now, I say something that you can't hear, you say, excuse me, can you say it again? I can repeat myself. I can repeat myself because I know what I'm saying. I'm not just moving through the piece. Again, I don't play poet. So if you want to have if you want to have a piece of art and you want to have a conversation with people, you open up an opportunity for them to be a part of it as well. And then it also in turn makes them pay more attention to it. It helps if you're good at what you're doing too. But
Exactly. And you know what? Just kind of a shameless self-promotional type of deal. out of all of my kids, and I called my proteges my kids because there's so many of them. Wait, that didn't sound right. But anyway.
No. For protege kids, yes. This isn't Herschel Walker. You're fine.
Exactly. Every one of them are excelling at what it is that they do. We've got a lot of them that are still in the business. They're programming different radio stations across the country, or they're in media related fields. And, Chris, like I said, has always been one of my best and brightest students because he's taken what he's learned in the media world and has applied that discipline to what you do as a spoken word artist.
We were never meant to bend voluntarily, only forcibly onto ships or to someone else's will. In America's mind, I'm still nothing more than the third pick in their slavery draft with ideals of bending our backs, transforming cotton into cash, and receiving lashes for speaking back. Boy, know your place. In America's mind, I'm nothing more than the third pick in the slavery draft with ideals of bending our backs, transforming cotton into cash, and receiving lashes for speaking back. Boy, know your place. Learn what race is. Understand your race should only come first in races. You had no plan for me after slavery. Made me criminal just for breathing. Created game. Deconstructed Reconstruction era to give white folk broke like us something to lose. Choose between skin privilege or persecution. Keep game moving along. Rewrite rules, force us to be the only ones to adhere to them. Make us eat Jim's Crow until it becomes our best friend. Make us sit in back of bus, call us outcasts, cast out over 3,000 pieces of bent and broken strange fruit throughout your stolen country. Your stolen country. I only got 5 minutes, I gotta be careful. Come see who the big boys really are. Give boys guns and badges to badger us. Keep cops closer to young black boys than their own father. Make message clear to them that patrol lights on the wrong night might mean the end of them. Feed fear into them. Infect them with viral killings on Facebook live feeds like IVs. Keep game moving along. Let society post-racial to race away from our reality. Let your schools waste away so that kids in math class can't understand, pay attention, how 53% of white women subtracted 8 years of progress by thinking 45 was this country's solution. Let him do worse than worst stereotypes of Obama. Turn White House into Jerry Springer. Let his baby mama call out new foreign chick in front of American audience like a reality show. Let reality show you that fake stereotypes about blacks don't match real life with this dude, but don't call him out because he looks like you. Ignore a decades-long war on drugs. Call us thugs, but call heroin addicts opioid victims because they look like you. Ignore a decades-long war on drugs. Call us thugs, yet call heroin addicts opioid victims because they look like you. Play anthem. Francis Scott's Songs in the Key of White. Force so-called free men to stand for soundtrack to their own Holocaust. Cost them sponsors if they talk. Cost them money if they talk. Cost them lies if they talk. Make sure them boys know they place. Place journalists, what up Jamel Hill? Place journalists to higher standards than so-called commanders-in-chief. Demand we speak only when you tell us to. Call my black women sassy or opinionated for taking a position other than missionary or doggy style. Call my black women sassy or opinionated for taking a position other than missionary or doggy style. Meanwhile, keep ignoring the blood that's falling from the leaves. Capping us is why Kaepernick took a knee. Yet watch them steal the narrative like slaves were stolen overseas. Enjoy the irony of free men protesting while being ridiculed by star-spangled wearing hypocrites who sit, because wearing a shirt or drawers with a flag on it is against the law. U.S. flag law, go ahead and Google it. Keep telling yourself game don't exist, yet make your television the closest black people come to your residence. Say, I don't see color, therefore making ignoring my black pain that much more evidence. Don't get the message unless the messenger looks like you, because we ain't friends, right?
We're only here to entertain and sustain you. Maybe that's why 6 years ago when I moved here with dreadlocks down to my butt, every white person I introduced to said, "You look just like Larry Fitzgerald or Lil Wayne, dude." It's the same game. You see us all as the same, so you ignore our pain as if it's martial law. That's why you didn't pay attention until Marshall talked. That's how you skip over 400 years of history for a 4-minute rap freestyle from a white guy. Because white privilege is just like Facebook. You can't hear me speaking if we ain't friends to begin with. Because white privilege is just like Facebook. You can't hear me speaking if we ain't friends to begin with. And we ain't been friends for a long damn time. Because if we were friends, it wouldn't have taken this poem to make the obvious evident ever since we've been here. We were never meant to bend voluntarily. Yet here we stand. You cannot ignore us. You will not derail our narrative. Understand it is not your job to police my pain. Understand your silence is white supremacy's accomplice. Understand, America, you have a lot of work to do because my people did enough for free already.
We touched on COVID a little bit ago. Mm-hmm. And again, we did talk about the fact that this is not the run-of-the-mill occupation.
Right.
So I know, like you and so many other performers, whether they be music or whatever, COVID basically, as they say in England, it took the mick out of a lot of things.
Yes.
How was the COVID experience for you?
COVID was the most transformational thing I've gone through outside of losing my grandfather. Mm-hmm. It was a lot. I went through in an 18-month period, accusations and people attacking my character, losing 6 family members. And then not only that, but having to pivot as far as a career and what to do.
Right.
And it was actually a good thing because for the first time in a long time, I had a moment just to take a breath, just be at home and just sit and be at peace. And I had a chance to honestly take a look back at, and reflect on things that I've been doing, what I needed to fix and things that have been going well. And to that point, poetry has allowed me again to be in multiple arenas. One of those arenas, and I'm certain that this will make you happy to hear that, has been radio.
Yes.
So, in addition to just growing, not only working politically, having those other spaces to work in gave me the opportunity to be in other spots. So I'm still working and doing political pieces, working on engagement with voting rights. Working with the Democratic Party has been a huge thing to help. I've also been a board member of Desert Soul Media, which is a Black-owned nonprofit out here. We specialize in trauma-induced information and making sure that we teach other youth, young and old, as far as how to use media outlets and how to use radio, how to run their own shows. And actually, I do have a show on there called Culture Spot. Runs on Mondays, 10 a.m. on the show. We actually brought back the first Black-owned FM radio station in Arizona this century.
Nice.
So it had that going. I have that going on, and in addition to that, for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been working on a project called Culture Hub. I've wanted a brick and mortar building where we could have opportunities to help others. And so during this time with COVID, I had a lot of time to work on other things, like the construction game has really picked up, especially in Arizona. It's a city in Phoenix, a city that's growing very, very fast, to the point where we've actually become one of the top 5 cities in the country since I've lived here. And so you see things popping up all over the place. And so I have a building in this historically Black area known as East Lake Park. And coming in 2023, we're also going to have a co-working space. I have an open mic that I'll host there, but we'll have other events that are going on, community targeted and community focused events, and use that space the same way that I've been using my art to help others and just magnify the impact that we can have.
And you're seeing a lot of these types of spaces open up, community work environments where people can come in, hone their craft, conduct their business, and they're not tied to a contract, or they're not tied to a lease or everything, and you're providing that type of atmosphere in order for them to be able to do the work that they do. Right. And in addition to that, to pivot a little bit in between all of this, you settled down, my man.
Yes. And that's, if anything, that's probably one of the best. That's been one of the best things that's happened to me. Mm-hmm. I've always wanted to be settled, but to be settled and have peace is a whole different story. And so, I became a father. That's been my focus. Gabriel has been my focus and my target. He's actually helped with that adjustment that I was talking about. As you know, just to get personal for a minute, being out here has kept me away. Well, that and other attributes to it have severed something that I didn't realize was that important as far as a daily activity. And a lot of times, as you know, single fathers, that's not something we get to talk about. We're just the villain. No matter what happens, you just need to do this.
Right.
And it had been a fight, and I had been fighting, but still with that, and then dealing with all the death and losing both of my grandmothers and all the family members, depression is a real thing. But he helped snap me out of it. And not only has that helped me in other aspects, it's helped me personally. It's helped me as a father. It's been so incredible, and I'm grateful for him. And I'm grateful for my relationship. I'm grateful for my peace.
And one of the things that we started here, and it speaks to the mental health aspect. We have something that we've called the WLOU Check-In Challenge, and it's a real simple thing. And I hope that people watching this will take this with you. What we encourage people to do is just send a text message to somebody they're thinking about. It doesn't matter if you talked to them 5 years ago or 5 minutes ago. It's one question, 2 words. You good? That's all there is to it. What it does, and I've done more research about this, is one, they feel good because somebody is thinking about them. And then the person sending the text message or doing the checking, there's also a benefit there called the helper's high. It is a release of endorphins that a person gets whenever, they feel good about doing something for somebody else. So that's a small component. And there are a lot of resources that are available to deal with trauma, because that's what a lot of depression is caused from. It is caused from trauma, whether it be childhood or recent, or, being exposed to any sort of media. It could be caused by anything. But the thing is, we have to do a better job of looking out for each other and checking on each other. And we can't always rely on our family members that are, those that are around us. They can inspire us to greatness, but they should not be responsible for our well-being, to the point to where you're going to look to them for your total holistic mental health. Right. So yeah, I get it with Gabriel. I know when my son William was that young. Oh yeah, he's definitely my piece. And now that he's made me a grandfather, with my grandson Prince, it's the same thing all over again. And I see him deriving the same benefits. So I can definitely relate on a couple of different generations. So with Culture Hub, this is launching in 2023.
Yes, sir.
And how can people get more information about it? Because I know you're basically in the Phoenix area, but I can see this becoming something bigger and spreading out all over the country.
That's exactly the plan. I'm not bashful or shy in saying it. I want to bring a Culture Hub back to Louisville. So just letting you know now. You can visit culturehubphx.com, and you can sign up now. We have legacy memberships that people are able to sign up for less than half price of what it typically would be to use the space. I'm excited for what this can be, because having those centers where you can mix creatives and entrepreneurs and just have those resources. And that's the main thing for many people. They just need the resources. They have the talent. They have the ability. They have the work ethic. They just need the help. And a lot of people are afraid to even ask for help. But if you have a space that you're comfortable in coming into, and having those spaces where you don't have to hide who you are, to to move forward and to grow in your craft or your business, and to understand that everybody is in competition. To your point earlier, this time that we're in and dealing with COVID has made a lot of people realize how important it is to be more gentle. And I understand that, there's people out there that are garbage individuals and, whatever, racist going racist. But for people who want to actually grow and build, people are out there. And if you create those spaces where people can comfortably be there, it changes everything. So Culture Hub's concept is to do that, to grow, to help other artists. I want to do the same thing for other artists that James Linton did for me. I want to do the same thing for other artists that you did for me. Everyone who I've had who has either gave me an opportunity or who mentored me, that their love and their respect is being embodied in Culture Hub to help the community. And then, like I said, once this is successful and off the ground, 2024, looking to build more.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now let's talk performing again. Now that things are opening back up, right. And you're starting to hit spots there in Phoenix again. Any chances of getting out on some sort of a national tour?
Oh, it's definitely coming. That will definitely be 2023. Even with everything else that's going on. I'm working currently on a set of EPs that I plan to release in the future. The series is entitled, they'll call it CRT. But you have basically different topic-based events. The first one was actually recorded on August 28th, and the EP is called 828. As you know, that August 28th is a very significant date, particularly to Black men. It's the date that MLK's I Have a Dream speech was delivered. It's the day that Emmett, and it's the day that we lost Chadwick. Right. And so to be able to speak on those while, and that's basically the subject matter of that set.
With spoken word, again, and being such an unusual occupation to have professionally.
Right.
And this being your 20th year of being able to do this, what has been and this is such a cliche question, what has been the secret to your longevity as a spoken word artist?
Consistency. Is really, really simple. And the reason a cliche is because, usually it's true. But everyone I feel like a lot of people ask that question in order to find something different. But generally, the answer is the same. If you are consistent with what you do, you don't even have to be great at it. But if you are consistent, you will naturally get better at it and just showing up, treating people with respect. Like if something is your purpose and you find something that you enjoy doing, you're going to continue to do it. You're going to work at it. So it's the reason why I didn't work out in the corporate world. I've worked longer for myself than I did in the corporate world because just some stupid stuff you can't, you don't want to have to deal with. And you want to follow. Right. If you want to follow what you're doing, if you put the work in, you can make it happen. You have to be able to find resources, find other people who are doing it. Understand everyone isn't your competition, but everybody for damn sure is not your friend.
Amen.
And then just move, like appreciate those who genuinely appreciate you and not for transactional purposes. Like if you treat what you're doing like a business and you put the work in, you'll be amazed at what happens. You may have highs and you may have lows, but I've been able to, like you said, this is the first time, and actually 20 years for me, just to be fair, 20 years for me will be March. Wow, man. I've been writing since 2001. The first time I performed in Louisville was March 15th, 2003. And I left my job to only do this in 2010. But yeah, it's been 20 years will be 2023.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we're right on that point. And it's just been so much, just looking through everything, having a support system, doing the work, whether it's at Expressions or whether I was at K-State or whether I was out here hosting One Mic Stand or whatever events that you're doing, interviews, be consistent, show up, do the work, enjoy what you're doing. Understand that is not about you, what you're doing. And I think if you come from that position of service, the rest will handle itself.
Man, and speaking of the retrospective, how can folks get a hold of it?
Oh, you can download Rewind on any major streaming platform. Feel free to also visit truthbetold.net. You can see my website. Download it from there as well.
There you go. So if you want some really, really thought-provoking, funny, sometimes it may piss you off depending on what piece you're listening to. If you want spoken word that evokes emotion, plain and simple, you got to check out my man, Truth Be Told. I'm telling you. Like I said, family and you know, we try to keep up with each other. Real world, real life gets in the way.
Yeah.
But anytime that we get to talk, whether it's a brief conversation on the phone, I can hear that smile in your voice. And that is a beautiful thing. And I'm, you know, brother, I am just so proud of you. I've always been proud of you, and you know that. So
it still means the world to hear. I'm proud. I'm sorry for interrupting, but I'm proud of you. You have been amazing. You have helped so many individuals, myself as well. We cannot thank you enough. So the only thing that we can do is be for others what you've been for us. So thank you for showing me that. And thank you just for being Mark Gunn. Just, bro, you are amazing, and I'm grateful for you.
Yeah, the feeling is mutual. Trust me. Once again, let's give everybody your socials one more time so they know where to find you. They know where to download the retrospective, and definitely we're going to keep in touch as you get the career hub, the creative hub up and running.
Absolutely. So if you're on Instagram, just at Truth Be Told, Twitter, Truth Be Told Poet. Not really on Facebook too much, but you can go on the Truth Be Told page. I do check in on that. And just truthbetold.net is one of the best ways to catch me. You can send out a message. We have actually different packages that you can get, where you get notebooks, T-shirts, the whole nine. Check it out. It's definitely worth it. And I promise you won't be disappointed. All
right. Once again, this is Gunshots Straight from the Hip. My special guest, my brother, Truth Be Told. Be on the lookout for more from Phoenix, Arizona, and we will see you on the next episode.
This is Mark Gunn Media.
Hit it!
One of the biggest accomplishments we've had over the past year is the continued growth of our podcast, Gunshots Straight from the Hip. If you haven't heard it, you can check it out now on our website at markgunmedia.com or on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or the TuneIn Radio app. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Past episodes are available for download right now. Each episode is written and produced from a perspective not heard enough in this medium, the Black perspective. However, Gunshots Straight from the Hip is not limited to a Black audience. Anyone can get something out of it. We tackle social and political issues, sometimes some slice of life stuff, in a way that's very compelling and unlike any other podcast on the market right now. With my experience as an award-winning audio producer and a reputation for being rather outspoken, Gunshots Straight from the Hip is something you won't want to miss. Over the next year, we want to add more subscribers with a goal of 1,000 new subscribers every month. If you haven't joined us yet, go to our website at markgunmedia.com and hit the podcast link. You could also subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you're already with us, thank you. We just ask that you turn your friends and family on to us. Remember, we have a goal of 1,000 new subscribers every month, and we can't do it without your support. That's Gunshots Straight from the Hip, available right now at markgunmedia.com, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or the TuneIn Radio app. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you. You've been listening to Gunshots Straight from the Hip. The views expressed are those of the host and guests and not reflective of any business entity or anyone associated with this broadcast. If you have any comments or want more information on how to be a sponsor, log on to our website at markgunmedia.com or call us at 502-407-0283. That's 502-407-0283. Thank you for listening.
Mark Gunn Media. No hype, no hoopla, just damn good work.